All right, folks, welcome back in Handicap Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JC Sports. Off week last week, had to deal with some personal issues. We're all ready to rock and roll this week. Big tournament coming up, Mexico Open down in Mexico. Veranda Vallarta. We had this course last year. This is actually the first time we had it last year. Second year in a row coming up this year. It's a great time in golf. I know people were talking about last week. Oh, not the best tournament. To bet on, not the best tournament to watch. I thought it was great. I thought the Zurich was great. I like those. I like those kind of tournaments. You got a guy like Bo Hostler. You got a guy like Wyndham Clark trying to battle it out. Davis Riley, Nick Hardy. First wins on tour. It's exciting stuff. Same type of thing this week at the Mexico. I know we got Rahm headlining, but a lot of long shots who could really make a name from themselves this week. Um, so yeah, it's going to be a great tournament. I'm here to run down all the stats with you. I'm here to run down the course with you. We'll go over some players who I think might be able to be successful this week. Long shots as well. I'll run through the odds checkerboard, but without further ado, I'm very excited, to get back into it this week. Mexico Open course preview. Here we go. Vidanta Vallarta, like I said, in Vallarta, Mexico. It's a Greg Norman design. Par 71, just over 7,400 yards. A pretty long track. Hazards of 6 lakes on the track, so water comes into play on 11 different holes. There's over 100 bunkers. This is really no surprise given that Norman is a guy to over bunker his golf courses. Fairways, Paspalum, rough, Paspalum, greens, Paspalum, head to toe, Paspalum. If you don't know what Paspalum is kind of a very sticky, soft, slow type of surface. You usually see these in tropical type of areas. They can absorb heat very, very well. Kind of an easier surface to play on, but we'll get more into that as we move forward here. A little bit of background on the Mexico Open. So this is the first national open of the 2023 season. We obviously have the Canadian Open and then the U.S. Open a little more down the road in the summer. This event didn't come official on the PGA Tour until last year. Last year, like I said, was the first time the Mexican Open was on the PGA Tour. Jon Rahm won last year. He battled out Kurt Kitayama, Tony Finau, and Brandon Wu, and he won at 3-1 odds at 17 under par. Not much different this year. Rahm opens up. I mean, his best odds are at plus 260. You can find that on DraftKings, FanDuel, and PointsBet. I mean, you got a guy like Rahm who's on top of the leaderboard, and then a guy like Finau who's next. Finau's coming in at plus 850, and then you got the third odd on the odds board, Wyndham Clark plus 1900. So you kind of see that. Definitely something you got to make a decision on, but those are just the quick glance at the odds there. I want to get into this course. Veranda Vallarta. I'm just going to say VV. It's a mouthful. VV is the course. Veranda Vallarta. It's a very long track, like I said, measuring 7,400 yards. This is a bomber's paradise. You want to dial in on golfers who drive the ball very long. Like I said, Paspalum head to toe. Paspalum, that they're very sticky and slow surface. Like I said, we see these in more of the tropical type environments. And now what this means, we kind of get these Paspalum fairways, a very long track. We're not going to see a lot of rollout on drives. So make sure you dial in on golfers who are very good long iron players, 175 to 200, maybe 200 plus. I'm dialing in on that. On the approach side of things, I'll go over that with you guys once we get into the stats a little bit more. There's 100 bunkers here. Like I said, no surprise, Norman over bunkers. VV consists of 4 par 5s, 5 par 3s, and 8 par 4s. There's actually one drivable par 4. So when those come knocking, you got to make sure you're scoring. And yeah, the long iron play here is huge. because you got guys who you might dial in on golfers who are long drivers of the golf ball, but they're not going to get any rollout from that. You got a course like Augusta, um, you know, where it is one of the longest golf courses on tour. You get a lot of rollout because there's a lot of undulation. It's not paspalum. There's big time rollouts here. It's a bit different. You're going to have these long drives, but you're not going to get any rollout. So you're going to see a lot of long iron. You're going to see a lot of long irons coming out of these bags. And long irons. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task to do. So dialing on a long iron play is going to be huge here. Couple that with bombers of the golf ball off the tee. Um, that's the recipe for success here at VV. Um, and yet, really, what makes the golf course hard is the firm and fast conditions, which we're not going to see here in the slightest bit. I'm not really worried about around the green play. It's paspalum. If you find yourself around the green, you're going to have a pretty easy chip shot. Paspalum grass, the ball lies up very well, pretty much on a silver fucking platter for you around the green. So that's that. The greens there's no undulation. There's barely any undulation on the greens. The greens are large. They're slow. Chipping onto these slow, non-undulating greens is a fairly easy task to do. So around the green play, I'm really not dialing in on too much. Um, so things to note: long but not firm and fast. Greens are slow, and around the green game is not that big. Let's hop into the stats real quick. Like I said, as we can imagine, this week is going to be dialing in on long drivers of the golf ball. Another big thing to note is the size of these fairways. 40 yards, which is the sixth widest fairways on the PGA Tour. VV ranked 34th out of 38 courses in missed fairway penalty. Bomb away. There's very little consequence for misses here. The misses could come into play with water, maybe a sand, a fairway bunker. But given the width of these fairways, go ahead and bomb the ball. You're going to need as much distance as possible to make sure you have the shortest iron in your hands with your second shot. And folks, please don't get me wrong here. Don't get me wrong at all. Short players can contend. Short players can win here. Just saying, if we take a look at the leaderboard from last year, we got guys like Jon Rahm, Kurt Kitayama, Cam Champ, Aaron Wise, Brandon Wu, all finishing in the T10, and all of the longest drivers of the golf ball on tour. Couple that with long iron play as well. I know it's a small sample size, given it's just one tournament that happened last year. We're going back to the same course. I know it's just one tournament, one data set of stats that we have, but if we're seeing this leaderboard and we see that the top 10 of the leaderboard, these guys rank the best in driving distance and they rank the best with long irons, it tells you something. It really does. Ran a model for this week. I'll go through that at the end of here, but longest drivers in my model: Nikolai Højgaard, Brandon Matthews, Matty Schmid, Derek Ernst, Cam Champ, Benny On, Trevor Cohn, Gary Woodland, and Jon Rahm. No surprise with Jon Rahm. Approach play. Given the length, lack of the rollout, expect to see a ton of players facing long iron shots. With these wide fairways, hitting the fairway is not going to be hard. Hitting the fairway is going to be easy, whether you're long, whether you're not long. Hitting the fairways are going to be easy. What it's going to come down to is the second shot and what you could do with your drive, how long it goes or how short it goes. See, if you're a short driver, but you get your long irons dialed in and you're hitting greens and regulations constantly, you're going up and down for par on this paspalum around the green grass, you're going to be fine. But what I'm saying is the scoring happens on the second shot. 5 par 3s over 170 yards, 5 par 4s over 450 yards, and 3 par 4s over 500 yards, with 3 of the par 5s where you could reach in 2. And we'll get down to the scoring stats when we dial in there. I have a lot of weight into par 5 scoring. I have a look. I have a bone to pick on par five scoring because I think it's the most important stat on the PGA Tour. Not even close. We'll dial into that when we get down there. So, like I said, with this approach play, the yardage buckets that I'm dialing in on 175 to 200 and 200 plus. The best long iron players in my model in this field: John Rahm, Tony Finau, Augusto Nunez, Van Rooyen, Will Gordon, Kevin Roy, Grillo, and Wendy Clark. That's approach play. Around the green play. Last year, VV ranked 38th out of 38th in stroke strain around the green difficulty. It ain't going to be a problem this week. It's easy to chip on this grass. It's easy to chip onto these very slow, large greens. You're not gonna want to pick a. I mean, you're going to go through your normal around the green, you know, pre-shot routine, whatever you have, but there's not really going to be much thought into it. The around the green shots here aren't hard, and if you're struggling on them, I don't know what to say. You're probably struggling all week. Um, but instead of the around the green play, I want to hone in on sand play. Like we said, 100 bunkers here. Norman is notorious for a bunker galore type course. Um, so the top bunker players in my model: Benny On, S.H. Kim, Robbie Shelton, Andrew Putnam, Austin Cook, D.A. Points, and Willie McGirt. No need really to worry about around the green play this week. Bombers of the golf ball, long iron play. Around the green play, putting is where it gets putting this week. I think it's getting a little bit underlooked just because of the paspalum aspect of it. Listen, a ton of these players don't play on these tropical type courses, and we see a lot of this paspalum grass on tropical courses. See, the last time we saw it was Corrales, probably. Did we see it at Kapalua? Was Kapalua paspalum? It might be, but don't fact check me there. Um, you either love it or you hate it. You either love paspalum or you hate paspalum. If you're a guy who is typically a bank likes bank grass, likes putting on firm and fast conditions, paspalum is very hard to adapt to. Given myself, I'm playing a lot of these courses. Sometimes I go out to vacation in the Caribbean. Sometimes I go to vacation in Turks and Caicos, Punta Cana. You get this paspalum grass, and it's very hard to adapt. It gets very slow. You have a hard time reading putts. You have a hard time getting your pace down packed. I mean, if a player who is not used to paspalum, but they're getting it day one and they're going to be fine. Like if John Rahm is struggling at day one, day two on this paspalum, you might have to be worried. But if John Rahm is just making 15 footers, 10 footers, 20 footers like at this day job, this guy's going to fucking run away with this thing. Top slow putters in the field: Kyle Reefers, Alvaro Ortiz, Patty Rogers, Patton Kazire, Jonas Blixt, Andrew Putnam, Bo Hostler, Ben Taylor, and Matt McNeely. Top paspalum putters in the field: Nate Lashley, Alex Smalley, Brandon Wu, David Lipsky, Adam Long, and Harry Hall. Now the scoring. I think the scoring this week is very important, and there's two main stats that I'm dialing in on in terms of scoring. The first is par five scoring. The second is birdie or better. Um, so when you think about a lot of long par threes and a lot of long par fours, you have to dial in and really see how often are these players going to be making birdies on these long par fours, long par threes are very hard to birdie. You're happy going away with par. The par four birdies will come. How you're playing, momentum, everything like that. But parring the par fives is massive. We see it week after week. Augusta was huge. Last week it was huge. Um, Heritage is big. It's big every single week. Making sure that one under or better on the par fives. You're winning. You're winning golf tournaments. sorry, not one under for the week. Let's just say this. Let's say there's 4 par 5s on a course, and let's say you're making 2 birdies each round, almost 6, 7, looking at 6, 7 under. That's big time. Have the par 4 birdies come in. Par 5 scoring is huge, and I'm weighing it heavy this week. Top par 5 scorers in the field: Jon Rahm, Wyndham Clark, Nicolai Hoygaard. We didn't hear Nicolai Hoygaard from top to bottom of my sheet here. Matt Wallace, Tony Finau, Pat Rogers, Benny On, and Nate Lashley. Birdie or better, just how often a player gives himself a birdie look and produces on that birdie look. Jon Rahm, Nicolai Hoygaard, Sebastian Vasquez, Tony Finau, Clark, Wallace, Akshay, Bhatia, Benny On, and Ben Martin. So that finalizes the statistics with off the tee, statistics with approach play, statistics around the green, and statistics putting. Scoring stats, like we said, par 5 scoring, huge this week. Birdie or better, another huge this week. 2 comp courses that I want to dial in on that I think, looking at that and looking at who's been successful there could be very important this week. The first one is Corrales, the Punta Cana Corrales. Another track, over 7,400 yards, wide open fairways, paspalum head to toe. Best players in Corrales: Wallace, Eckero, Brent Grant, Hoygaard, James Hahn, Andrew Putnam, Harry Hall, Wyndham Clark, Alex Smalley, Ben Martin, and Vincent Norman. The other track is Kapalua, where the Century TOC is played. Rahm won that this year. Another wide, driver heavy, good deal of iron, long iron shots. I will say Kapalua, there's a lot more elevation changes, but the greens are slow. That stays constant. And also the driver and long iron aspect of the track also stays constant. So don't really worry about the elevation changes there. It's the same type of course, just given a couple, fairways with more hills and valleys and stuff like that. But the best players at Kapalua: Rahm, like we said, who won; Johnny Bird, Brandon Wu, Tony Finau, Alex Smalley, David Lipsky, Cam Champ, and Marty Traynor. Finalizing those comp courses there. So now, if we put it all together and we take a look at my model, in terms of value, the top 10 players in my model, given approach play last 36 rounds, par 5 scoring last 36 rounds, driving distance, long iron play 175 to 200, 200 to 225, who plays good at Kapalua, who plays good at Corrales, birdie or better, who's good on slow greens. Top 10: Rahm, Clark, Gary Woodland, Tony Finau, Patrick Rogers, Matt Wallace, Ben Martin, Patton Kizzire, Nicolai Hoygaard, and Nate Lashley. That's the top 10 in the model. Now, the betting board. Everyone's favorite topic, everyone's favorite thing, betting on golf, best thing of all time. Let's run through it. Let's run through this, and then what I want to do is I kind of want to go down the good, salary came out. Good. We have salaries out as well for fantasy aspects, so maybe we can look at that as well. Jon Rahm plus 260, leader of the field, leader of the pack in terms of odds. No surprise here. Just came off a Masters win. Very good, very, very good performance at the Heritage. Took a week off last week. You're going to want to think Jon Rahm wants to defend his title. I mean, you're looking at a guy who won the Masters. Usually when you win the Masters, you don't play the next week. You're tired. You're spent. Rahm went out there. He made an obligation. The elevated events he was going to play in, and he was dialed at the RBC Heritage. He played great. You got to think he's going to do the same thing this week. You got to think the guy's going to want it. The guy wants to win every fucking tournament he plays in. You don't think he's going to want to defend his title? If you don't think so, you got another thing coming. So Rahmbo at plus 260. I'm personally not going to take it. I don't take odds like that. DFS market most likely will take him, because the thing with DFS, I've been playing DFS, So I started my betting career. I really, really started my betting career last year at the Wyndham. Um, from there, and for a couple months, I was shit at DFS. Starting to get a little bit better. Um, you need to find guys who are just going to finish top 5, top 10. Like, you got to find the guys who score, and you got to find the guys who you actually think, like, are you going to be there on Sunday? Like, are you going to be contending? Are you going to be in the top 10? Even if you're T20 going to the round 4, can you make a run in the last round, to get yourself in T7, T9, T10, whatever it is? So that's the thing you got to look at. You got to think Jon Rahm is going to be a top 7, top 5 player. I know his ownership is going to be through the roof, but if you don't have Rahm and he finishes T5, T2, T3, like, you're not going to be in the mix. I'll probably play Rahm DFS. Finau, next guy, plus 850. The thing with Tony Finau is this, man. This is the thing with Finau. Dude's been striping the ball like a dog. Tony Finau. Finau has gained on approach ever since he won the Caden Spank Houston Open. And he's gaining healthy ball striking, 6 at the RBC, 4 at the Master, 7 at the API. Guy plays great. The guy's playing great as late. That plus 850 number, am I going to take it? No. By the way, I haven't made a bet for this yet. I just been running around. I haven't got a chance to really make my bets in. Right now, I kind of want to dive in and see who I want to take. I'll probably take a look at some of these numbers and be like, oh wow, that's a pretty good number there. I'm gonna rip that. But Finau 850, I don't think that's worth it. Wyndham Clark at 1900. The thing with Wyndham Clark is that he's one of the best par 5 scorers on the PGA Tour. Wyndham Clark ranks 3rd in my model, par 5 scoring. Wyndham Clark, I'm actually pretty interested to see where his ownership shakes out, because it's probably Wyndham Clark's at 9,700. When was Wyndham Clark this expensive in a PGA Tour tournament? 97. 97. Yeah, this is the most expensive he's ever been. Valspar was 8.8. Didn't he play in the Corrales? They don't show. Oh, but I think they don't show the salary there on the site that I'm on, but he's another guy who could probably contend. I like Gary Woodland a lot. Gary Woodland at 28. Those best odds are on PointsBet. I just think he models out really well. Like, if I go back to my model and we take a good look at Woodland, approach play last 36, ranks top 10, great in fantasy points gained, par 5 scoring, top 15, top 15 in distance, great at Kapalua, a great long iron player. And you're also looking at a U.S. Open winner in Gary Woodland at 28-1. So if I still see that number once I hop off this pod, like, I'll probably ride Woodland at 28. Nikolai Højgaard at 30. Pat Rogers at 33. Benny On at 35. I took Benny On last week in DFS. Him and SH Kim played great together. Benny On, I think he models out pretty well here. Yeah, 14th. Solid on approach last 36. Great fantasy player. Par 5 scoring, ranks in the top 10. Driving distance. Does he rank in the top 10 driving distance? Benny On? Yeah. Oh, I like that number with On right there. On. How does he play on these type of courses? Benny. Ooh. I'll have to take another look at On there, but definitely someone to dial in on. Jaeger, Hostler at 45, coming off a very, very nice performance with him and Wyndham Clark at the Zurich. Guy's still waiting for his dub. When is it going to come for Bo? Big Bob the sports guy. Big, brilliantly dumb guy. When's it going to come for Bo? It's got to come soon for Bo. Grillo at 60 is interesting. I know he's really good on these coastal type courses. I think he models out pretty well too. Grillo. Doesn't model out too well, but I like Grillo at that spot. What is he, 60 to 1? Yeah. It's pretty solid for Grillo. What's his price at? 85. Seventh at the Heritage. He's been playing pretty good golf. Did he play here last year? Grillo? 33rd last year? That number on Grillo at 60, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. Benny Martin, Smalley 65, Ben Martin 66, Wu 66, Bramlett 70, List 70, Will Gordon 70, Higo 75. Kind of getting down into the weeds here. At 100. The thing is, this week you got to find guys in the 60 range if you're playing DFS. Who's going to play well this week? A couple guys who I like in the 60 range, just looking at it right now. And Brandon Matthews is there. I'm going to write him 66. Brandon Matthews, one of the longest drivers on tour, 7th last week at the Zurich with his partner. Didn't play this track last year, but I like that spot for BMAT. Long driver of the golf ball. Who else did I have in here? More homework for me to do in the DFS place, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough this week with a guy at plus 260 like Rahm. If you want to bet on this and not on Rahm, there are places in these sports books where you could bet without Jon Rahm. So you start at like Finau, and you might get a little bit different odds from different people. But if you want to bet on that landscape, I think that's a pretty good move. It's just tough because you're looking at a guy like Rahm, like Rahm. The next guy up is Finau. Like, come on, give me a break. Like Rahm should run away with this thing. He should run away with this thing, but you're also looking at 160 different golfers as well. So it's pretty tough to be priced at like this. This is like a Tiger type pricing. It's ridiculous, but he deserves it. He earned it. Rahm is a bulldog. Guy's a beast, and he's gonna be very tough to beat this week. So I know why that value's there. I think value this week is in the DFS space. I'm going to be playing DFS. Might have a couple outrights. Find more on my Twitter, JZ Snacks, JZ Sports, Handicap Sports Podcast. We'll have one out. We're going to record tomorrow. Me, Ronnie Overs, Top Beast. But this one, big one, Mexico Open this week. Very, very excited. I loved this tournament last year. Thought it was a great tournament. Was on Rahm last year. Probably should do it again. But don't want to have to throw an arm and a leg just to make 50 cents. But yeah, great tournament this week. More on my Twitter. That's it. Mexico Open, JZ Sports Preview, folks. We will see you later. All right.